I am standing outside of Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace in London, England. And before I go any further, I need to clarify, it's 2001, post 9/11 world. So when I say I'm standing outside of Buckingham Palace, it should be clear that I am behind not one, but two sets of fences. There's a bunch of guards with weapons. This isn't a story about me getting to meet the Queen. I am well distant from Buckingham Palace. But this feels amazing. I am a 21-year-old, an adult in the world with my real-life adult girlfriend beside me, and we are real-life adults having the time of a life, I suppose, in the rain and the gray of London, England. But I'm seeing this thing, this castle that, well, it's not really a castle. I didn't know what to expect from Buckingham Palace. The Queen would not premiere for another decade and a half. But I knew that famous royal people lived there, and being a Canadian, I had kind of like a weird feeling about royals. I don't know how I feel about them, but this seems really cool. They're in there right now. I think. I turned to Jen, my girlfriend, a 21-year-old as well. We're on exchange. She's from Montana. I'm from Canada. It's weird that we met in Wales, but now we're in London, which feels like the center of the world, just like all those books I used to read. And I ask her, Jen, is the Queen even home? Like, or Charles at least, or like anybody? And she says, I don't know. And we look at each other, and we look at this building, and we look at these guards, and we just stand there for like 15 minutes. Because, like, what else are you going to do? You're going to start looking for signs of royalty. Like, is there a crown somewhere? Like, there's a flag? Maybe they're like, if the flag, is there like a secret code for she's here right now? But we stand there in the rain and the gray, waiting. It's almost Christmas. I wouldn't be at work. I'm not at work. I'm on my way home. She's on her way home too. We're not going together, as established. She lives in Montana. I live in Montreal. Very different worlds. Very different worlds. We're each other's first serious relationships, first adult serious relationships. And as we're standing in the rain, I'm thinking about what that means. Like, what does that mean? I've known this person for 2 months. This is the first time, though, I'm taking a trip with someone, and I got my little cheap disposable camera to show for it. I've taken all sorts of gray, dismal pictures of London that don't really come out well because of disposable cameras. We've spent the whole afternoon walking the streets of London, streets that I felt at the time like I should have had something really clever to say something about. But truth be told, other than books, I've spent all of 6 hours in London before this, after my flight in, and then I immediately boarded a train and went up to Wales, which was even wetter and colder than this. So I don't know anything, and I keep relying on Jen as my guide. As we walk away from Buckingham Palace, I ask her, you've been here for a bit, you've been here for a while. I was here for 2 days, she says. I was here for 2 days before I came up to Wales. Okay, but where should we go? What should we see? And she doesn't have any answers, and I don't have any answers, so we just go back to walking the gray streets, wandering for a bit. And, we're not the traditional kind of adult relationship who have shared interests or passions or things like that. No, I mean, we're both in political science. That's something. We have important conversations. That's what grown-ups do. We have important grown-up conversations like how we feel about the European Union, I guess. The use of violence and civil disobedience. She's definitely ambivalent and sort of tummy achy. She called me privileged and spoiled as a result. She's not wrong. But that's the kind of conversation we have. We're walking the streets of London, and I don't know very much about her at all. We connected one night at a bar in Aberystwyth called Peer Pressure. Clever name. Located on the pier. Peer Pressure. Smart bar names are important, people. Smart bar names are important. We finally find a place. Oh, I remember this, Jen tells me. And she takes me to this little Italian restaurant. This is my favorite. I love this place. I'm like, this is your favorite restaurant in all of London? She's like, well, no, it's just where I went with my dad when we came the one time. So her favorite restaurant, technically, right? It's her favorite. It's the place she's been. So we go to this restaurant, and we have a long pasta full dinner with wine, not really talking about anything. Why don't I have anything to say? Why do I have nothing to say to this person? I've been with her for 3 months right now. This is a long-standing relationship. We're serious, whatever that means. Living in different dorms, sure, but the same random Welsh town. This is meant to be. This is something important. And not only that, I know. Tonight we're going to sleep in the same bed tonight. I've never done this before. I was a late bloomer. Another time. I was a late bloomer, and we were going to share a bed in a hostel that we picked out of a Lonely Planet guide. But as we're walking there, I'm feeling really weird. Like I don't know you. I don't know you at all. You have curly hair, and I have curly hair. But what else do we have in common? And at some point, we find ourselves in this hostel, lying on this bed, and we just try to find a topic of conversation that's not too awkward. And how are you liking the university we're both at? And that gets her talking. I love it, she says. I love Aberystwyth. You know what? I'm definitely going to come back here for my master's degree. And suddenly I perk up. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come back here for my master's degree too. But they only take a very small number of international students. And she says, well, I'm going to start working on my application already. I said, well, yeah? Well, I'm going to start working on my scholarship application because they give even a smaller number of scholarships. And British school is very expensive. And we spend the next few minutes academically one-upping ourselves in our imagination. And we go to bed angry because we've had a fight about university tuition or something. And I'm lying there in the dark, and I'm just thinking, what am I doing here? And what is she doing here? Because for the first time in our 3-month relationship, it occurs to me, I don't think we like each other very much. At all. We get up early the next day to go to our separate airports to fly home to our separate corners of this weird big continent. But as I'm making my way up to the security, the very, very impressive, terrifying post-9/11 security checkpoint, as I'm on my way up there, it occurs to me all the ways that I've just been play-acting this relationship, this idea of a serious girlfriend, and this idea of a serious conversation, this idea of a serious vacation full of crappy disposable Kodak film photos. And the thing that hasn't occurred to me is that this isn't right for either of us. And I wish I could tell you I had a dramatic moment in that airport where I whipped out my cell phone. It was 2001. I didn't have a cell phone. I wish I could tell you I knew right away that I had to find a way to contact her and say, we need to meet up, we need to figure this out, or we need to break up right now. But I didn't. 10 days later, we're both at our separate homes, different sides of the continent, chatting on some primitive nightmare internet tool. And it just comes out, I don't think this is working. And she says, it is really not working. And even though we find ourselves back at Aberystwyth a couple of weeks later, we never see each other again and feel, I'm sure, amazing about it. Thank you.